The wind carried the smell of burning metal. The air was heavy, filled with dust and smoke, and the once bright sky was now a pale, lifeless gray. Streets that were once alive with people and traffic now stood empty. Cars sat abandoned in the middle of roads, their doors hanging open, alarms long silent. Buildings were broken and dark. No birds sang. No voices called out. No footsteps echoed. The world had gone silent. Captain Eric Hawley walked slowly down the center of the ruined street, his boots crunching against broken glass. His rifle hung at his side, but there was no one to fight here. The enemy had already passed through. He glanced up at a torn billboard that once showed a smiling family enjoying the sunny day. Now black scorch marks stretched across it, and the word home was half burned away. He stopped and looked at the small device in his hand. The numbers flashed coldly. 3,004,231. 712. That was the official death count. And it was still climbing. 3 billion dead. Almost half of humanity. Eric closed his eyes for a moment, the memory of the last few weeks crashing into his mind. Alien ships in the sky, their weapons lighting up cities, the helpless screams. Over the coms the orders to retreat, retreat, retreat. The enemy didn't come to conquer. They came to erase. He opened his eyes and kept walking. There was one last order he had to follow. The underground base was buried deep beneath the mountains, protected by layers of rock and steel. It had survived the orbital strikes so far, but every soldier inside knew it was only a matter of time before the enemy found it. Eric entered through a heavy blast door, passing armed guards who looked at him with quiet fear. Everyone had heard the rumors. He moved down the narrow corridor until he reached a door unlike any other in the base. It was a massive steel vault, 5 meters thick, with old warning symbols painted in red across its surface. Some were in English, some were in other human languages, and some were in symbols no one recognized anymore. 2 officers stood at the entrance. One was Colonel Reeves, his uniform dirty and his eyes sunken from sleepless nights. The other was Dr. Lena Vos, the last surviving scientist from Project Eclipse. "You're late," Reeves said, his voice tired. "I had to see it for myself," Eric replied, his voice low. "The cities, the count. You saw the number." Reeves said, "You know what that means." Dr. Voss stepped forward. "It's already too late for most of the world. But not for everyone. If we release them now, we have a chance." Eric stared at the vault door. He had heard stories about what was inside since his first day in the military. The shadows. Not aliens, not machines, something else. Something human, but not human. "They were locked away for a reason," Eric said. "They almost destroyed us the last time they were free." "That was 200 years ago," Dr. Vos said. "And they were less controlled back then." Reeves gave a humorless laugh. "Controlled? You think they're controlled now?" Dr. Vos ignored him. "The aliens aren't like anything we've fought before. Our weapons are useless. Our fleets are gone. The shadows are the only thing that can stand against them." Eric's jaw tightened. "And if they turn on us?" Reeves shrugged. "Then we die faster. Either way, we're out of options." The vault door required 3 keys, turned at the same time. Reeves, Voss, and Eric each stepped to a control station. They inserted their keys and waited for the countdown. "Once we open it, there's no going back," Reeves said. "They'll be free." The countdown hit 0. The 3 turned their keys. A deep metallic hum filled the corridor. Thick bolts slid back with a heavy clank, one after another. The air grew colder. The doors slowly began to move, grinding open. With a sound like distant thunder, darkness waited beyond the opening. Not just the absence of light, something heavier, as if the shadows themselves were alive. From the blackness came the sound of chains falling to the floor. Then footsteps. Slow, measured, powerful figures began to emerge. The first one was tall, taller than any human Eric had ever seen. Its body was covered in armor that looked grown, not built, with jagged edges and dark plates that reflected almost no light. Its eyes glowed faintly, a deep molten orange. The way it moved was too smooth, too precise that another followed, then another. 7 in total stepped into the corridor. They were all different in shape and size, but all shared the same inhuman stillness. They looked at the humans, in front of them as if studying prey. One of them stepped closer to Eric. Its voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Who calls us from the dark?" Eric straightened his back. "Captain Eric Hale, United Earth Defense. We need your help." The creature tilted its head slightly, the glow in its eyes brightening. "Need? Yes, you always need. Until you fear us again," Dr. Vos spoke quickly. "The enemy is not human. They are from beyond this system. They are killing everyone." The creature turned its gaze to her. "We know. We can smell their fire in the wind." Another of the shadows let out a low growl, stepping forward. "Where are they?" "In orbit," Eric said. "We have ships waiting to take you to them." The shadows exchanged looks. If they were communicating, it wasn't with words. Finally, the leader spoke again. "Then we will hunt." As they moved through the base, soldiers stepped aside, some avoiding eye contact entirely. The shadow's presence was heavy, almost physical. Even without speaking, they seemed to fill every corner of the corridor with silent threat. At the hangar, 2 stealth dropships were ready. The pilots kept their helmets on and their eyes forward. Eric boarded the first ship with 3 of the shadows. The rest boarded the second. The seats groaned under their weight. As the dropships lifted off, the world outside the cockpit was a burning wasteland. Fires burned where cities once stood. The alien fleet could be seen in the sky, black shapes against the dull clouds. One of the shadows sat beside Eric, silent for several minutes before speaking. "You think we will save you," it said, "but we were not made to save." Eric didn't look at it. "Then what were you made for?" The creature's glowing eyes turned toward the alien ships in the sky. "To win." In orbit, the alien fleet was a wall of metal and light. Massive ships hung above Earth, their hulls bristling with weapons. They had no reason to rush. To them, the humans were already defeated. Inside the alien command vessel, a tall figure with silver skin and a crown of spines stood before a glowing display. Warlord Kefin watched as a small group of unidentified ships approached. "They are human craft," one of his officers said. "But their energy signature does not match known models." Kefin narrowed his eyes. "Destroy them." The human dropships moved in close. Then the shadows moved. They didn't wait for permission. The moment the alien weapons locked on, the shadows launched themselves into space. They moved faster than any human could, their weapons unfolding from their armor like living extensions of their bodies. The first alien cruiser never fired a shot. Its hull split open as a shadow's blade tore through it, venting fire and debris into the void. Alarms filled the alien command vessel. "They are cutting through our shields," an officer shouted. Kefin stared at the display. "What are those things?" On the dropship, Eric watched in shock as the shadows tore into the enemy. He had seen them in old training videos, but nothing compared to the real thing. They were precise and brutal, moving with purpose and rage. For the first time in weeks, Eric felt something he hadn't dared to feel: hope. But as the shadows destroyed another cruiser, one of them paused, looking back toward Earth. Its glowing eyes narrowed. It wasn't just hunting the aliens. It was thinking about what it might do when the aliens were gone. The alien fleet burned in the sky. From Earth, people hiding in bunkers and ruins saw flashes of light, explosions high above the clouds. At first, they thought it was just another attack, another city being erased. But the pattern was different. This time, the blasts weren't coming down toward Earth, they were going up. Inside a hidden shelter beneath what was left of New London. A small group of survivors huddled around an old radio unit. Static filled the air until a soldier's voice came through. "This is command, enemy cruiser destroyed." "Repeat, enemy cruiser destroyed. Unknown human assets engaged. They are winning." The survivors looked at each other in shock. For weeks, all they had heard was bad news. Now, for the first time, there was a chance. A tiny light in the endless dark. But none of them knew the truth. The human assets were not human at all. High above the planet, Captain Eric Hawley sat in the cockpit of the stealth dropship, watching the shadows at work. They moved like nightmares given form, darting through space faster than the eye could follow, their weapons ripping through alien metal as if it were paper. Every strike was deliberate. Every movement had purpose. They weren't just attacking. They were hunting. The alien fleet fought back, firing beams of blue light and swarms of missiles. But the shadows moved in ways no machine could predict. They twisted, vanished, and reappeared in new positions, cutting into the heart of the enemy. One of the shadows, a massive figure with broad shoulders and claws like curved swords, tore into the bridge of a destroyer. Through the open com channel, Eric heard the alien screams, high-pitched, sharp, and short-lived. Within minutes, the destroyer was just another burning wreck falling toward Earth's atmosphere. Inside the alien command vessel, Warlord Keffin slammed a clawed hand onto the control panel. "How many ships lost?" "5 cruisers and 3 destroyers," an officer answered nervously. "More are damaged. Their weapons bypass our shields entirely." Keffin's spines bristled in anger. "Then shield the humans from our weapons, not from theirs. Adapt." The officer hesitated. "It is not just humans, my lord. These things, they move like predators. We do not believe they are from this planet." Keffin's gaze hardened. "If they are not from this planet, then they are not bound by the same weakness as the humans. That makes them more dangerous. I want them destroyed, all of them." Back aboard the dropship, Eric received a com signal from Colonel Reeves. "On Earth. Hawley, what's the situation?" Reeves' voice was tight. "They're tearing the aliens apart," Eric said. "I've never seen anything like it." Reeves didn't sound relieved. "Don't forget why they were locked away. This isn't over until they're back in that vault, or until they decide they don't need us anymore." Eric glanced out the viewport at the shadows. The leader, the one with molten orange eyes, was cutting through an enemy carrier's engines with terrifying precision. "I don't think they plan on going back," Eric said quietly. The battle shifted. The alien ships, realizing they couldn't win in direct combat, began to fall back. But instead of retreating into deep space, they angled toward Earth's surface. Eric's heart sank. "They're going after the civilians." The shadows reacted instantly, breaking formation to chase the retreating ships. But the aliens had prepared traps, hidden mines, cloaked drones, weapons designed not to kill, but to slow. A shadow was caught mid-flight by a swarm of micro-missiles. The blast didn't kill it, but it sent the creature spinning, slamming into a drifting wreck. Another was trapped in a net of energy beams fired from multiple ships, its armor sparking under Waika. The pressure. Eric's hands tightened on the controls. "We have to help them." Dr. Vosa's voice came over the channel from the second dropship. "They don't need our help. Just watch." The trapped shadow stopped struggling. Its glowing eyes dimmed for a moment, then flared brighter than before. With a roar that seemed to echo even through the vacuum of space, it broke free, the energy beams shattering like glass. The creature's claws tore through the nearest alien vessel, ripping its hull open and scattering burning fragments into the void. The others fought with the same ferocity, ignoring damage, ignoring pain. Eric realized something then. The shadows didn't just fight to win. They fought like creatures finally free after centuries of captivity. Desperate to unleash everything they had been forced to hold back, the aliens began their retreat in earnest, leaving behind only wreckage and a few crippled ships. The shadows did not pursue the survivors into deep space. Instead, they regrouped near the upper atmosphere, hovering silently like predators waiting for the next hunt. Eric's dropship approached their formation. The leader turned to face him. "Is that all they have?" it asked, its deep voice vibrating through the comm system. "For now," Eric said. The shadow's eyes glowed brighter. "Good, then we wait." On Earth, news of the unexpected victory spread quickly through the underground networks. People began to believe the war might be turning. But those who had served in the old military archives, those who remembered the warnings, felt a different kind of fear. One such man was an old general named Marcus Elrin, who had been part of the secret council that voted to keep the shadows buried. He sat in his bunker, watching grainy footage of the battle. "They're back," he whispered. "God help us all." Later that night, Eric met with the shadows in a sealed hangar on a remote base. The air was thick with tension. Soldiers lined the walls, weapons ready. Though they knew those weapons wouldn't be enough if things went wrong, the leader of the shadows stepped forward. "You brought us here to fight," it said. "We fought. The enemy bleeds. But we will not stop until they are gone from this world." Eric nodded. "Then we keep working together." The shadow tilted its head. "Together, yes, until the end." It began to walk away, but then stopped. "Do not forget, Captain. We remember why you locked us away. When this war ends, you will remember too." Its words sent a chill down Eric's spine. In the shadows of deep space, far beyond Earth's orbit, Warlord Kethan spoke to his commanders. "The humans have unleashed something they cannot control," he said. "We will turn this to our advantage. Target their cities, force their creatures to come to us. And when they do, we will end them." The alien fleet began to regroup, drawing power for something massive, something that would not just destroy cities, but scorch entire continents. On Earth, no one knew it yet, but the next battle would not be fought in space. It would be fought on the ground, in the heart of humanity's last safe places, and the shadows would have to decide: protect humanity, or finish what they started centuries ago. The first rays of sunlight touched the ruins of New York, but the city did not wake. Broken towers stood like jagged teeth against the pale sky. Fires still smoldered where alien weapons had struck days before. In the quiet, the air suddenly shook. Not from an explosion, but from something moving fast through the clouds above. High in the sky, alien troop carriers streaked toward Earth. This time, they were not here to destroy from a distance. They were coming down to fight face to face. Inside an underground command center in the Rocky Mountains, Captain Eric Halle stood over a large tactical screen. Colonel Reeves, Dr. Voss, and a team of officers studied the incoming readings. "They're changing strategy," Reeves said, pointing to the screen. "They're landing ground forces, heavy units. Looks like they want to draw the shadows in." Dr. Voss frowned. "That means they're confident. They've prepared something specific to counter them." Eric crossed his arms. "Or they think they can take us apart piece by piece. Either way, they're about to find out what the shadows can do on the ground." Reeves shot him a look. "And what happens when they decide they like the ground too much? We still don't have a way to control them." Eric didn't answer. He didn't want to admit it, but the colonel was right. In the military hangar, the shadows were already waiting. Their glowing eyes pierced the dim light. They moved with the same deadly stillness as always, their armor faintly humming. The leader stepped forward. "You have found us prey?" Eric nodded. "Alien carriers landing in the east sector. We believe they're trying to trap you." A low, rumbling sound came from one of the shadows, almost like laughter. "Then we will trap them instead." The alien carriers landed in the shattered outskirts of Boston. Massive doors opened, and alien war machines stepped onto the cracked streets. They were tall, insect-like walkers with glowing weapons mounted on their limbs. Behind them came squads of alien infantry in black armor, moving with mechanical precision. The streets were empty. No humans, no sound but the thump of alien footsteps. One alien commander tilted its head, scanning the ruins. No resistance detected, it reported. Then the shadows moved. From the broken shells of buildings, from the darkened alleys, they came. 7 tall figures, eyes burning in the smoke, moving faster than the eye could track. The first alien walker fell before it could fire, its legs torn off, its cockpit ripped open. The pilot dragged out and thrown into a wall with bone-breaking force. The alien infantry opened fire, blue energy bolts lighting up the streets. But the shadows didn't dodge. They moved through the fire, their armor shrugging off the hits. One shadow leapt onto a walker, tearing its weapons away before driving a blade through its core. Another ripped through a squad of infantry in seconds, their bodies hitting the ground before the last alien even knew what was happening. From a nearby rooftop, Eric watched through binoculars. Even knowing what the shadows could do, the sight was terrifying. "They're not just fighting," he muttered. "They're enjoying it." Dr. Voss' voice came through his earpiece. "You sound surprised. They were made for this. This is their nature." Eric lowered the binoculars. "And what happens when there's nothing left to fight?" In the alien command center on their flagship, Warlord Kefin watched the battle through a live feed. His spines lay flat in concentration. "They are everything the records warned us about," he said quietly, "and still. They are flesh and blood." An alien scientist stepped forward. "Our trap is ready. The energy net will separate them from the human forces. Once isolated, we will bring down the containment field." Kethin's eyes glowed cold. "Do it." The shadows tore through the last alien walker in their immediate area. Smoke and debris filled the street. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then the ground lit up. Blue lines of light spread out in a perfect circle around the shadows, forming a glowing cage that rose high into the air. The energy pulsed, crackling, and a deep hum filled the air. The leader of the shadows tilted its head, studying the barrier. "Interesting," it said. Eric's voice shouted over comms. "It's a trap, pull back." But the shadows didn't move. From the air, alien dropships descended, staying just outside the glowing barrier. Their side hatches opened, releasing swarms of drones. Each drone carried a weapon that pulsed with strange energy tuned to disrupt the shadows. Armor. The first hits made the shadows stumble. For the first time, they bled. One of them roared in pain, spinning to tear a drone from the sky and crush it in its claws. But more took its place. Eric's heart pounded as he watched from the command post. "They're hurting them." "I didn't think that was possible." Dr. Voss leaned forward. "If the aliens can kill the shadows, they won't stop with them. We have to intervene." Reeves shook his head. "If we move in, we risk losing everything. Let them fight it out." Inside the barrier, the shadows adapted. They moved faster, using the wreckage of alien walkers as shields. One grabbed a drone mid-flight and hurled it into the energy barrier, shorting out part of the field. Another leapt into the air, tearing apart 2 drones before landing hard. "Enough to crack the street." The leader spoke over the comms, its deep voice calm despite the chaos. "Captain Hawley, when this barrier falls, we will finish the hunt. Keep your soldiers away." Eric gritted his teeth. "You're outnumbered." "We do not count our enemies," the leader replied. "We count our kills." The fight raged for minutes that felt like hours. The aliens threw everything they had into the trap: walkers, drones, infantry. But the shadows refused to fall. Finally, the barrier flickered. The damage from the shadows' attacks had weakened it. With a sound like shattering glass, the glowing walls collapsed. The shadows moved instantly, breaking out of the trap and cutting into the alien lines. The battle turned in seconds. Warlord Kethan watched from his flagship, his claws digging into the arm of his command chair. Enough, pull them out, we will change tactics. The alien forces began to retreat, leaving behind burning wreckage and hundreds of dead. When it was over, the shadows stood in the middle of the destroyed street, their armor scorched but their eyes still burning bright. Eric approached cautiously, stepping over alien bodies. You made it out, the leader looked at him. We do not die easily, Eric hesitated. You were almost caught. The shadow leaned closer. Almost. Then it turned and walked away, the others following in silence. That night, in the command center, Reeves studied the battle data. They're powerful, but not invincible, he said. That means the aliens will come up with something even worse next time. Dr. Vos nodded slowly, and the shadows will adapt to it. The question is, will we? Eric didn't say anything. His mind was on something else, the look in the shadows' eyes after the fight. They weren't just soldiers. They were something older. Something waiting, and he wasn't sure who their real enemy was. The sky over Earth was still dark, but not from the war anymore. It was the heavy clouds that covered the sun, making the world feel cold and empty. The fires that once lit the night were fewer now, but the enemy was not gone. They were changing. Their plan, inside the command bunker, Captain Eric Halle stood next to Colonel Reeves and Dr. Lena Voss. The large screen in front of them showed blinking dots, alien forces moving fast toward cities on the East Coast. These are not normal attacks, Reeves said, his voice low. Look at this. Eric leaned forward. The screen zoomed in on one city, Boston. The dots stopped moving suddenly, then many red blips appeared. Human survivors were being taken prisoner. They are not just attacking, Dr. Voss said quietly. They are capturing people. Eric's heart clenched. Why? To use them, Reeves said grimly. As bait. Thousands of innocent men, women, and children were rounded up in cages made of metal and strange glowing energy. The aliens moved quickly, making no effort to hide. Back in the ruined streets, human survivors watched in horror from hiding places. Young woman named Mara clutched her little brother's hand tightly. We can't stay here, she whispered. They will take us next. Her brother looked up with wide eyes. What will happen to us? Mara didn't answer. She didn't. No, high above, the shadows waited silently in orbit. They watched the alien ships carry the prisoners away. One of the shadows spoke to Eric through the comm system. They bring their prey to us, the deep voice said. They want us to come. Eric nodded. I know, they want to trap you again. The leader of the shadows was quiet for a moment, then said, then we must hunt with care. The aliens had built massive cages inside their motherships. Humans were held like animals, unable to move or speak freely. Guards patrolled, but they never saw the shadow soldiers watching nearby. Inside one cage, Mara sat next to her brother. Her eyes burned with fear and anger. We have to find a way out, she said. That her brother nodded. Can the monsters help us? Mara looked away. I don't know. Back on Earth, Eric and his team planned the next move. We can't attack the motherships directly, Dr. Voss said. They are too strong up there. Reeves added, but we can use the shadows to rescue the prisoners. Eric looked at the glowing figures on the screen. If they care, the shadows moved in the darkness of space like ghosts. Silent and deadly, they slipped past alien defenses and landed quietly inside the motherships. One by one, they destroyed alien guards and freed the humans. But something was wrong. The shadows did not seem to hurry. Their eyes glowed brighter, but their movements were slower. Some showed hesitation. Eric's voice came through the comm. Move faster, we don't have much time. The shadow leader responded, Patience, Captain. The hunt is long. Meanwhile, alien warlords watched from their bridges. We will use the humans to lure the monsters, one said. They will come to save their own. Another warlord nodded. And when they do, we will strike hard. Kill the humans and the monsters both. Inside the mothership, a shadow stood over a group of freed humans. It looked at Mara with glowing eyes. Why do you fear us? It asked in a low voice. Mara swallowed hard. Because you were locked away. Because we don't know what you want. The shadow's eyes softened just a little. We want only to destroy those who hurt us. Mara looked away. Are we the ones who hurt you? The shadow didn't answer. Rescue mission grew more dangerous. Alien ships arrived in greater numbers outside the motherships, blocking escape routes. Eric watched as the shadows fought harder, tearing through enemy lines but losing some of their own. One shadow fell too. A strange alien weapon that fired waves of energy, stopping it cold. Eric's chest tightened. They're learning how to fight you. The leader's voice was calm but firm. Then we will teach them pain. On Earth, news of the rescue mission spread. People whispered about the monsters that saved their friends and families. Some began to see the shadows not as weapons, but as protectors. But others feared them even more. An old soldier named Kane looked out over the ruins from a hilltop. Monsters don't protect, they only bring more death. In the mothership's control room, Warlord Kefin slammed his fist on the console. The humans and their monsters grow bold, he shouted. We will end this war with fire. Burn their cities, burn their souls. His officers looked scared, but nodded. Back in space, the shadows prepared for a final assault on the alien stronghold. Eric's voice was tense. This could end it all, or end us. The leader's glowing eyes met his. We fight, Captain, until the last enemy falls. Or until the last shadow falls. The battle began. Explosions lit the dark void. Shadows clashed with alien warriors, their weapons flashing bright. Humans trapped in the motherships watched, praying for freedom. But as the fight grew fiercer, the shadows' old anger surfaced. Their claws tore through alien armor with brutal force. Their voices echoed with rage. Eric saw it all. The monsters were no longer just soldiers. They were something more. Something terrifying. As the dust settled, the alien stronghold was crippled. The prisoners were free. The enemy was pushed back. But the cost was high. The shadows had broken through their chains of control. Eric looked at the leader and asked, "What now?" The shadow's eyes burned fiercely. Now we walk in the light, and no one can stop us. The war had changed. The alien fleet was weaker, pushed back from the skies above Earth, but the danger had only grown. Captain Eric Halle stood in the command center, staring at the live feed from the battlefield. The camera showed a city in ruins, broken buildings, fires burning, and the dark shapes moving through the smoke. The shadows. For weeks the shadows had fought alongside human soldiers. They had saved thousands of lives and destroyed much of the alien fleet. But something had shifted. Eric noticed it first in their eyes. The glowing orange had grown brighter, fiercer. Their movements became wilder, less controlled. They fought not just to win, but to destroy everything in their path. "Captain," Dr. Lena Voss said softly, standing beside him, "we are losing control." Eric turned to her, worry deep in his eyes. "What do you mean?" "They're changing. The rage inside them is growing. It's like the old stories, the rage that made humanity lock them away centuries ago." On the battlefield, the shadows moved like storms of destruction. One large figure slammed through an alien war machine, tearing it apart with claws that burned through metal. Another shadow crushed a group of alien soldiers with a single strike, their bodies flying like ragdolls. They showed no mercy, no hesitation. Nearby, human soldiers watched in fear and awe. Some cheered, hoping the shadows would end the war quickly. Others held back, unsure if the monsters were still their allies. Eric received an urgent message from Colonel Reeves. "The shadows are ignoring orders. They attacked a human patrol near Sector 9. Casualties on both sides. Eric's face went pale. They attacked us? Reeves answered grimly. We don't know why. Maybe confusion. Maybe anger. Eric rushed to the battlefield with a small squad. When he arrived, the scene was chaos. Shadows fought aliens fiercely, but the humans they were supposed to protect were caught in the crossfire. Mara, the young woman Eric had met before, shouted, "Captain, they don't listen. They're killing our people." Eric pushed through the smoke. "Stop! Shadows, stand down!" But the creatures did not hear him. Their eyes flashed brighter, their claws dripping with alien and human blood. Back at the command center, Dr. Voss studied ancient files about the shadows. They were created as weapons. She explained to Eric, genetic experiments designed to fight without fear or mercy, but they were too powerful. Their rage made them destroy everything, even their own side. Eric shook his head. "We thought we could control them." "We can try," Dr. Voss said, "but it will not be easy." The Shadow's leader stood on a broken rooftop, overlooking the burning city. "We were made to win," it said in a voice like thunder, "not to obey." A human soldier approached cautiously. "What will you do now?" The Shadow's glowing eyes met his. "What we always do, survive. But this time, we decide who lives." Meanwhile, the alien fleet prepared a new attack. Warlord Kethan watched the chaos on Earth with a cruel smile. "The monsters have turned," he said. "They will destroy their own world faster than we could." His war council nodded. "Then, we wait. Let them tear themselves apart." Eric gathered his officers. "We must find a way to calm the shadows," he said. "If we lose them, we lose everything," Reeves frowned. "How do you stop monsters who don't want to be stopped?" Dr. Voss looked at her data. "There's a control signal. A command built into their genetic code. It can put them back to sleep." Eric's eyes widened. "But it will shut them down completely?" "Yes," she said. "They will become inert. But until we find another way, it's our only choice." The command team prepared the signal. The base was silent as they broadcast it. At first, nothing happened. Then, on the battlefield, some shadows slowed, their eyes dimming. Others collapsed to the ground, their bodies still and silent. But the leader did not fall. Its eyes burned brighter, angry and alive. The leader roared, a sound that shook the city. "We are not your slaves," it said. "You may silence the many, but the few remain." Eric knew the war was far from over. In the quiet after the battle, Eric stood beside the fallen shadows. "They saved us once," he whispered. "But at what cost?" Dr. Voss placed a hand on his shoulder. "Monsters born in darkness often bring light and shadow." Eric looked up at the sky where the alien fleet had vanished for now. But the darkness is not gone. The world was broken. Cities lay in ruins, smoke rising like ghosts into the dark sky. The alien fleet had vanished for now, but the danger remained. The shadows, once humanity's hope, were now unpredictable monsters. Captain Eric Halle stood in the command bunker, watching reports flood in. Some shadows had been silenced by the control signal, but others, led by their fierce leader, were still free. And they were growing stronger. Eric turned to Colonel Reeves. "What's the deal? Status of the remaining shadows?" Reeves' face was grim. "About 30% are still active. They don't answer any commands. They've gone rogue." Dr. Lena Voss added, "The leader is rallying them. They see themselves as a new force, above humans, above aliens. They want control." Eric clenched his fists. "We created monsters. Now they decide our fate." The leader of the shadows stood atop a ruined skyscraper. Its glowing eyes scanned the city below. Around it, other shadows gathered, silent, deadly, powerful. A human soldier approached cautiously, weapon lowered. "What do you want?" The leader's voice was cold and strong. "We want freedom. The war is over for us. Now begins a new era, one where we decide who rules. The soldiers' faces grew pale. The war was no longer just against aliens. It was against the monsters humanity had unleashed. Back at the command center, Eric studied the data. The control signal had worked, but only partly. The Shadow's genetic code was complex. The leader had evolved beyond it. "We need a new plan," Eric said. "Something that can stop the leader," Dr. Vos nodded. "There's an old project, Project Eclipse. It was designed to create a fail-safe, a way to control the Shadows completely." Reeves frowned. "We shut that project down years ago." "It's risky." Eric looked determined. "We don't have a choice." The team prepared for a dangerous mission. Eric would lead a small squad to find the hidden facility where Project Eclipse's control device was stored. They moved through broken streets, avoiding patrols of rogue shadows and alien scouts. Inside the underground lab, dust covered old equipment. Screens flickered weakly. Eric and his team worked quickly to activate the control device. Suddenly, alarms blared. The leader and its followers had found them. Outside, shadows surrounded the lab. The battle was fierce. The rogue creatures tore through walls and soldiers alike. Inside, Eric activated the device. A pulse spread through the city, a wave of light that reached every shadow. One by one, the rogue creatures faltered. Their eyes dimmed. The leader roared in anger, but even it felt the control. In a final desperate move, the leader charged toward Eric's team. The fight was brutal. Eric fired his rifle, but it was no use. The leader was faster and stronger. Just as the leader raised a claw to strike, the control device sent a second pulse. The leader screamed and collapsed, its body turning still. The rogue shadows fell silent. The war was over. Eric stood among the ruins, exhausted but hopeful. "We won," he whispered. "But the monsters will never truly be gone." Dr. Vos looked at him. "We must be ready. The shadows are part of us now," Eric nodded. "And we must learn to live with that."